10. The CIA was born out of chaos. The CIA wasn't created out of calm, calculated planning. It was born in panic, right after World War II, when America realized it was blind in the new global chess game. In 1947, President Harry S. Truman signed the National Security Act, forming the Central Intelligence Agency to prevent another Pearl Harbor-level surprise. Before that, America had no peacetime intelligence service. The Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, had been dissolved after the war, leaving the U.S. dangerously uninformed while the Soviet Union was rapidly expanding its influence. The CIA was designed to do what no other agency could: collect intelligence, conduct covert operations, and influence foreign governments without leaving fingerprints. Its mission was both simple and terrifying: to keep America safe by knowing everything, and sometimes by doing anything. But early on, the agency was a mess of former soldiers, Ivy League academics, and ex-journalists who suddenly found themselves in the world of espionage. Their motto, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free," sounded noble, but their methods were anything but peaceful. Within a few years, the CIA had launched covert operations across Europe, Asia, and Latin America. From smuggling anti-Soviet propaganda into Eastern Europe to engineering coups in Iran and Guatemala, the agency quickly became a major player in shaping the post-war world order. This chaos-born agency would soon grow into the world's most powerful intelligence organization, capable of influencing presidents, overthrowing regimes, and monitoring billions of people, all while hiding behind layers of secrecy. Number 9. The CIA's mind control experiments were horrifyingly real. You've probably heard of MKUltra. It is one of those names whispered in conspiracy circles. But here is the truth. It really happened. In the 1950s and 60s, terrified by reports that the Soviets and Chinese might be using brainwashing on captured soldiers, the CIA decided to fight fire with fire. Under a secret project called MKUltra, they tested drugs, hypnosis, and psychological torture on unwitting subjects to see if they could control the human mind. Their favorite drug? LSD. The agency believed it might unlock secrets of the subconscious or force confessions. So they spiked drinks, dosed prisoners, and even gave LSD to their own agents, often without telling them. One of the most famous victims was Dr. Frank Olson, a U.S. Army scientist who began suffering terrifying hallucinations after being secretly dosed. A week later, he fell from a New York hotel window, though many believe he was pushed to cover up what he'd seen. The project included experiments on civilians, soldiers, and psychiatric patients, some as young as children. It wasn't until the 1970s that MKUltra was exposed during Senate hearings. Even then, most documents had already been destroyed on the orders of CIA Director Richard Helms. The revelations shocked the world. Americans learned that their own government had violated every possible ethical boundary in the name of national security. Yet, despite a public outrage, the CIA never faced serious punishment. MKUltra became both a symbol and a warning that when fear and secrecy mix, morality disappears. But perhaps the most disturbing part? Some of the research findings from MKUltra quietly made their way into modern psychological operations and interrogation techniques. In a twisted way, the legacy of mind control didn't die. It evolved. Number 8. The CIA engineered coups all around the world. If you've ever wondered why so many countries suddenly changed governments during the Cold War, chances are the CIA had something to do with it. The agency's covert operations weren't just about gathering intelligence. They were about reshaping the map of global power. From the 1950s onward, regime change became a core part of its unofficial job description. One of the most infamous cases was Iran in 1953, when Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh tried to nationalize his country's oil, cutting off Western profits. The CIA launched Operation Ajax. Working with British intelligence, the agency paid mobs, bribed politicians and planted fake news stories to destabilize the government. Within days, Mossadegh was overthrown, and the pro-American Shah was back on the throne. The operation was so successful that it became a blueprint for future interventions. A year later, in 1954, the CIA turned its sights on Guatemala. The country's democratically elected president, Jacobo Arbenz, had launched land reforms that threatened the United Fruit Company, a massive U.S. corporation with deep political ties in Washington. The CIA painted Arbenz as a communist, dropped propaganda leaflets from planes, and orchestrated a military coup. The result? A brutal dictatorship that lasted for decades. These were just the beginning. From Chile's Salvador Allende in 1973 to Congo's Patrice Lumumba in the early 1960s, the CIA helped overthrow or assassinate leaders it viewed as unfriendly to U.S. interests. Sometimes it worked, at least temporarily, but often the long-term effects were catastrophic. Iran's coup eventually led to the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Guatemala's coup ignited a civil war that killed over 200,000 people. The irony was that the agency, meant to protect democracy, often destroyed it. Yet inside Langley, these operations were celebrated as strategic victories. For decades, the CIA played global puppet master, using cash, propaganda, and sometimes assassins to maintain American dominance. Even today, the agency denies direct involvement in many of these coups. But declassified documents tell another story, one of secret funding, rigged elections, and plausible deniability. The phrase itself, coined by the CIA, meant that top officials could claim ignorance if things went wrong, and they often did. The legacy of these covert wars still haunts global politics. Every time a government falls under mysterious circumstances, people still whisper one name: the CIA. 7. The CIA once ran its own airline. It sounds like a plot straight out of a spy movie, because it practically was. In the 1950s, the CIA secretly owned and operated its own airline, Air America. Officially, it was a civilian charter company flying humanitarian missions in Asia. In reality, it was one of the most important logistics arms of U.S. covert operations during the Cold War. Air America flew everything, from food and medicine to weapons, soldiers, and even animals, into some of the most dangerous places on Earth. During the Vietnam War, it became infamous for flying secret missions over Laos and Cambodia, supporting anti-communist guerrillas and rescuing downed pilots behind enemy lines. The pilots were civilians, but effectively worked for the CIA, risking their lives daily in operations that officially didn't exist. But the airline had a darker side. Reports later surfaced that some flights were used to transport opium, the raw material for heroin, out of the Golden Triangle. The CIA has always denied these accusations, but many historians and former pilots claim otherwise. They argue that drug profits were quietly used to fund anti-communist militias when Congress wouldn't approve the money. Air America was more than a transportation company. It was a flying cover story. The planes were used to infiltrate enemy territory, deliver agents, and even extract defectors. It gave the CIA a global reach without needing to rely on the military. To the outside world, it looked like just another airline, but its passengers and cargo often determined the fate of nations. One of the most famous moments came in 1975, during the fall of Saigon. As North Vietnamese forces closed in, Air America pilots flew into chaos, rescuing hundreds of South Vietnamese and American personnel. The images of overloaded helicopters and desperate evacuees became iconic, symbols of both heroism and tragedy. After Vietnam, Air America was quietly shut down, but its legacy lived on in pop culture, inspiring movies like Air America, starring Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr., and countless spy thrillers. Few realized that those fictional missions were often based on real operations. Yet the airline AS existence revealed a chilling truth. The CIA didn't just gather intelligence. It built its own global infrastructure to act on it. From jungles to deserts, wherever America needed to project power without fingerprints, the agency had a plane waiting. And Air America wasn't the only front company. The CIA has used fake corporations, shell banks, and even news agencies to mask its operations. Each front added another layer to the labyrinth, a world where truth and fiction blurred, and where even a plane ticket could be part of an international plot. Number 6. The CIA's black sites were real and terrifying. When the September 11th attacks happened, America's intelligence world changed overnight. Suddenly, the CIA was not just collecting information, it was hunting ghosts. The new enemy, Al-Qaeda, didn't wear uniforms or carry flags. To catch them, the agency needed to go off the books, and that's exactly what it did. In the early 2000s, the CIA created a network of secret prisons known as black sites, hidden facilities located in countries like Poland, Thailand, Afghanistan, and Romania. These sites didn't officially exist. No laws, no oversight, no due process. Prisoners were rendered, kidnapped from anywhere in the world, and taken to these black holes of the legal system. What happened inside was classified, but leaked documents and testimony paint a dark picture. Detainees were subjected to enhanced interrogation techniques, a phrase the CIA used to avoid the word torture. In reality, it included waterboarding, stress positions, sensory deprivation, and sleep deprivation for days at a time. One detainee, Abu Zubaydah, was waterboarded over 80 times. Others were kept in coffin-sized boxes or blasted with deafening noise. The agency claimed these methods saved lives by preventing terrorist attacks. But human rights groups, journalists, and even U.S. senators argued that the program was immoral, illegal, and ineffective. The Senate Intelligence Committee S. 2014 report concluded that the CIA's brutal tactics often produced false information, and that the agency repeatedly misled the White House and Congress about what it was doing. Even worse, the CIA actively covered its tracks. It destroyed videotapes of interrogations, withheld documents, and obstructed investigations. One internal memo even described the destruction of evidence as a house-cleaning operation. The black sites eventually shut down under President Obama, who officially banned torture, but the legacy of those years still lingers. Former detainees were left scarred for life, some still without charges or trials. Allies who cooperated with the program, including European nations, faced public outrage when the truth surfaced. The CIA defended itself by saying it operated in extraordinary times, but critics argue that it permanently damaged America's reputation as a nation of laws. The Black Site program revealed how easily fear could justify anything, even turning a democracy into something that looked, for a moment, like the regimes it claimed to oppose. To this day, no senior CIA official has faced legal consequences. The files remain classified, and the full story of what happened inside those walls may never be known. Number 5. The CIA heavily influenced Hollywood. If you've ever watched a spy movie and thought, wow, that looks too real, there's a reason. The CIA has long had a cozy and controversial relationship with Hollywood. The agency discovered early on that controlling its public image was just as important as controlling foreign governments. Back in the 1950s, the CIA helped shape movies that promoted American ideals and demonized communism. Animated films like Animal Farm, based on George Orwell's book, were secretly funded by the agency to spread anti-Soviet messages worldwide. Few people knew that the cheerful cartoon was actually psychological warfare. As the decades passed, the relationship evolved. In the 1990s and 2000s, the CIA began openly cooperating with filmmakers, offering technical advice, access to locations, and even script feedback. The agency's Entertainment Liaison Office in Langley was created to help producers get it right, though what counted as right often meant what makes us look good. Movies like Argo, Zero Dark 30, and Patriot Games all benefited from CIA input. In Zero Dark 30, the film about the hunt for Osama bin Laden, the CIA allegedly provided classified details to ensure realism, while critics claimed it portrayed torture as more effective than it really was. The film went on to win Oscars, and the CIA got a wave of positive PR. But not all depictions were flattering. In the 1970s, after the Watergate scandal and the exposure of illegal CIA activities, Hollywood turned critical. Films like 3 Days of the Condor and The Parallax View painted the agency as a shadowy organization manipulating world events. Interestingly, this backlash also fueled the CIA's later PR campaigns. By the time Homeland and Jack Ryan appeared on TV, the agency had learned how to use fiction to repair its image. It wasn't just about propaganda. It was about recruitment, too. Former CIA directors have admitted that popular spy movies helped attract new agents. In fact, when Mission Impossible came out, applications to the agency spiked. The same thing happened after The Recruit, a 2003 film starring Al Pacino. The CIA has also supported documentaries and worked with writers to ensure accurate portrayals of intelligence work, or at least the parts they want the public to see. Some former agents even serve as consultants in Hollywood, helping balance secrecy with storytelling. The result? A strange symbiosis between the real and the imagined. The CIA gets to humanize itself, while Hollywood gets a touch of authenticity, or sometimes just enough fiction to keep the truth hidden. It's said that the best propaganda is entertainment, and the CIA seems to understand that better than anyone. By shaping stories on the screen, it subtly shapes how people view the world, and what they believe is justified in the name of national security. So next time you watch a spy thriller, remember, you might not just be watching Hollywood, you might be watching Langley's script too. Sucker 4. The CIA spied on Americans. Even when it wasn't supposed to officially, the CIA's mission is to gather foreign intelligence, to focus on threats outside the United States. But in reality, that line has been crossed more than once. The agency has spied on its own citizens, often under the excuse of national security. One of the earliest examples was Operation Chaos, launched in the late 1960s. The U.S. was in turmoil. The Vietnam War, civil rights protests, anti-government movements, and the CIA was ordered to find out whether foreign powers were behind the unrest. Over time, the project spiraled far beyond its original goal. The agency began keeping files on more than 7,000 Americans and 1,000 domestic organizations, including journalists, peace activists, and political groups. It even infiltrated student movements, monitored mail, and recorded phone calls, all without warrants. The program only came to light in the 1970s when journalist Seymour Hersh exposed the CIA's domestic spying in the New York Times. The revelations triggered national outrage and led to the famous Church Committee hearings in Congress. For the first time, Americans got a glimpse into how far their intelligence agencies had gone in the shadows. The Church Committee's investigation uncovered illegal surveillance, assassination plots, and even attempts to blackmail political figures. It concluded that the CIA had violated its charter and the Constitution. As a result, new oversight mechanisms were introduced, including the creation of the Senate Intelligence Committee and the requirement for presidential approval on covert actions. But oversight didn't stop the problem entirely. In the digital age, the lines blurred again. In 2014, Senator Dianne Feinstein accused the CIA of hacking into Senate computers during an investigation into its interrogation practices, essentially spying on the very people overseeing it. CIA Director John Brennan initially denied it, only to later admit it was true. The scandal proved one unsettling fact. Even in a democracy, secrecy can breed impunity. The same tools designed to protect the country can easily be turned inward. And while the CIA insists it no longer spies on Americans, new technologies, from social media monitoring to AI-driven data analysis, make the temptation greater than ever. In 2022, declassified documents revealed that the CIA had again collected bulk data on U.S. citizens, though details were deliberately vague. As one intelligence expert put it, "The CIA doesn't need to look at you directly anymore. It just needs to look at your shadow online." In the age of information, that might be the most invasive surveillance of all. Number 3. The CIA predicted and missed some of history's biggest events. For an agency obsessed with information, the CIA has had both astonishing hits and disastrous misses. Its record of predictions is a mix of brilliance, luck, and spectacular failure, sometimes all at once. Let's start with the wins. The CIA accurately predicted the Soviet Union's nuclear advancements in the 1950s, the Six-Day War in the Middle East, and even the fall of the Berlin Wall, though it underestimated how fast it would happen. The agency also played a crucial role in locating Osama bin Laden, tracking his courier to a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, leading to the 2011 raid that ended his life. But for every success, there's a failure that changed history. The biggest was undoubtedly the September 11th attacks. Multiple warnings were missed or buried in bureaucracy. Some CIA officers had even identified two of the hijackers months before the attacks but failed to share that information with the FBI. The tragedy exposed deep flaws in communication between intelligence agencies, flaws that would haunt the U.S. for decades. Before that, there was the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. The CIA trained and funded Cuban exiles to overthrow Fidel Castro's government, promising President Kennedy that the mission would spark a popular uprising. Instead, it was a humiliating disaster. The invaders were captured or killed within days, and the fiasco nearly triggered nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis the following year. Then there was the failure to predict the Iranian Revolution in 1979, the fall of the Shah, and the rise of Ayatollah Khomeini, events that permanently changed Middle Eastern geopolitics. The agency also misjudged the collapse of the Soviet Union, believing Moscow's control would last much longer. Perhaps the most controversial failure was the Iraq War in 2003. The CIA's assessment that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction was later proven false, yet it was used to justify a full-scale invasion. That intelligence blunder cost hundreds of thousands of lives and destabilized an entire region. Inside Langley, these mistakes are studied like case files in a courtroom, to learn what went wrong and how bias, politics, or pressure can distort intelligence. Some analysts say the biggest threat to the CIA isn't enemy deception. It is confirmation bias. When you already believe a story, you start ignoring the facts that don't fit. Still, the agency's defenders argue that success in intelligence is invisible. Every prevented terrorist attack or foiled plot goes uncelebrated because it never happened. The CIA's victories, they say, are measured in silence. But the failures? Those echo through history. And in the intelligence game, one mistake can change the entire world. Number 2, the CIA created revolutionary technology, including the Internet's ancestors. While the CIA is known for espionage and covert wars, one of its lesser-known legacies is innovation. The agency didn't just spy on the future, it helped build it. Many of the technologies that shape our daily lives today have roots in CIA-funded research and secret programs that once served national security. Take, for example, satellites. In the early Cold War, the CIA and the U.S. Air Force developed the Corona satellite program, the world's first photo reconnaissance system. Launched in 1960, Corona captured high-resolution images of Soviet missile bases from space. Its success gave America the strategic edge it desperately needed and quietly ushered in the modern era of satellite imagery. Today, every GPS system, Google Earth Map, and weather forecast owes something to that classified breakthrough. The CIA also played a key role in developing advanced surveillance and communication technologies. Through its research arm, the Directorate of Science and Technology, the agency experimented with early drones, tiny spy cameras, and listening devices so small they could fit inside a coin. In the 1970s, CIA engineers were even building robotic insects, mechanical dragonflies, and fish that could deliver microphones into enemy territory. But perhaps the agency's most surprising contribution lies in the foundations of the Internet. During the 1980s and 1990s, the CIA and other intelligence agencies funded research into decentralized computer networks that could survive nuclear attacks. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, working closely with the CIA's information analysts, laid the groundwork for what we now call the Internet. The goal was simple: create a communication system that couldn't be destroyed if one part failed. Decades later, that same technology would connect billions of people, a tool of freedom, business, and, ironically, surveillance. Because as much as the CIA helped build the web, it also learned how to exploit it. Social media, data mining, and digital espionage have become the new battlegrounds of intelligence. It's no longer about stealing paper files. It's about controlling the flow of information in a world where truth itself can be engineered. Another technological triumph was the U-2 spy plane, a sleek, high-altitude aircraft that flew above Soviet radar. The CIA used it to photograph military installations deep inside enemy territory, revealing secrets no human spy could reach. When pilot Francis Gary Powers was shot down in 1960, the incident exposed the CIA's hidden hand in aerial espionage and triggered a major diplomatic crisis. Still, it proved one thing: the agency's scientists were as daring as its spies. Today, the CIA continues to invest heavily in artificial intelligence, cyber defense, and data analysis. Its venture capital arm, MKUltra, quietly funds Silicon Valley startups developing technologies that could serve intelligence purposes, from facial recognition to machine learning. So, the next time you unlock your phone with your face or watch a drone deliver a package, remember, those innovations might trace their DNA back to Langley. The CIA's legacy isn't just written in politics or war, it's embedded in the code of the modern world. But Thurkwan, the CIA's greatest weapon is not guns or gadgets, it's information. In the movies, spies rely on gadgets, disguises, and dramatic shootouts. But in reality, the CIA's most powerful weapon has always been one thing: information. The ability to collect it, interpret it, and, most importantly, control how it's used. From the earliest days of the Cold War to the digital age, information has been both the agency's shield and its sword. The CIA doesn't just observe events, it shapes them by deciding what truth looks like. Its analysts influence foreign policy. Its briefings reach the president every morning, and its reports can justify wars or prevent them. But there's another, darker side. The CIA has often been accused of manipulating information, both abroad and at home, to serve hidden agendas. During the 1950s, it ran Operation Mockingbird, a massive campaign to influence journalists and news outlets worldwide. By secretly funding reporters and editors, the agency spread propaganda disguised as legitimate news, steering public opinion during the Cold War. Some of the world's biggest newspapers and broadcasters were unknowingly publishing CIA-influenced content. The operation was eventually exposed in the 1970s, but by then it had proven how effective information control could be. Why silence critics when you can write their headlines? In modern times, the CIA's focus has shifted from newspapers to networks, from ink to data. Information warfare now happens online. The agency monitors disinformation campaigns, tracks cyber threats, and uses digital forensics to expose or counter foreign propaganda. But it also faces new challenges: artificial intelligence, deepfakes, and a global audience that no longer trusts anyone. Inside Langley, the war for truth never ends. Every byte of data, every intercepted signal, and every leak could reshape global politics. And that is the paradox of the CIA, a guardian of secrets in an era that demands transparency. Its success depends on knowing what others don't, and making sure the world never fully knows what it does. Perhaps that's why the CIA remains both feared and fascinating. It's a symbol of ultimate knowledge and ultimate power. The CIA is not just an intelligence agency. It's a reflection of the modern world's moral gray zone. It has prevented wars and started them. It has built technology that connects humanity, and tools that can destroy privacy. It's the hand that steadies nations and the shadow that manipulates them. From mind control experiments and secret airlines to satellites and Silicon Valley, the CIA's story is one of ambition, secrecy, and paradox. Every fact you've heard tonight peels back another layer of an organization that thrives in mystery. And maybe that's the final truth, that in a world of surveillance, the line between protector and manipulator is thinner than ever. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like and share to help us grow. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the world's most secret institutions. Hit join to unlock exclusive content and behind-the-scenes videos, and if you want to directly support the channel, use the Super Thanks button below. Every contribution helps us bring more hidden stories to light. See you in the next video, where the truth is always stranger than fiction.